call. I call it the headlight strategy. It means like limited visibility, not enough information, but you have to make quick decisions. So much parity across marketing, product, sales pitches. How do you build a moat? There are only two things you need from prospects. One is attention, one is time. 5 focus areas we're going to be talking about. The first one is like, why we exist, value creation, and then prospect customer journeys, a little bit focus on teams and data. Value comes only from fixing pain.
Can you give an example of like an ideal team to do some of these activities? Like, is it like say a marketing pod with like say 2-3 people doing certain tasks, or how do you kind of structure this?
Today we have Guru on the call. Guru, welcome and good morning.
Hi team. Hi.
And Guru has had 2 phenomenal SaaS experience growth in the growth journey at both SaaSLabs and at ZoomInfo. And very excited to have him here today and kind of share his experience, with regards to go-to-market and how, he helped both the companies to scale. So probably, we can kickstart this session by probably a few questions, give to Guru to set some context to get to know him a little bit better. And in a couple of minutes from there, we could jump into the workshop. Just want everybody to know who Guru is, do a little bit of icebreaker so that we are all comfortable to ask him all the hard questions. And then we can get started. Sounds good, Guru?
Absolutely. Sounds like a great plan.
Okay. All right. So Guru, tell us what were you responsible, your key responsibilities at SaaSLabs and ZoomInfo? Probably we can get started there.
Yeah, I think SaaSLabs is the previous experience. So I think, that's a great place to start. At SaaSLabs, I entered when SaaSLabs was I think crossed 5 million and had raised Series A. Right? So that was kind of the stage. And I was more of a leader who focused on all customer facing functions. So all go-to-market functions, literally. So responsible for the sales, the marketing, the success, even the growth side. And again, to kickstart, I want to also set the context for all these startups here. I like a very favorite quote from Peter Thiel. He says, all great startups in San Francisco are either badly managed or very badly managed, right? And first I didn't understand why he said that. Just not a great thing to say. But when you start working in startup, then you realize there's a lot of essence to that. The essence is most of the functions are going to be under-indexed, right? You just focus on 2-3 things that you over-index and just get it right? So that's exactly kind of how I treat all my startup experience. So when I landed at SaaSLabs, the idea was, okay, we know there are a lot of areas which are going to be under-indexed, but what can we over-index right now? So keep a plan for every quarter, every month, focus on 2 things. So at SaaSLabs, the focus shifted from one unit to the other. So maybe started more with the marketing side. When I say focus is on one, doesn't mean I stopped looking at the other things. It's just top priority, right? So marketing was immediate priority, then hiring, then getting into the setting up sales functions, getting up the teams in place, and then moving along to fixing CX. So it's each piece of the journey. So you'll see that as a theme, and I want all of you folks to keep asking a lot of questions because there's a lot of things there. But the theme is, okay, focus on 1-2 units, drive, then get the next thing in order, right? That's kind of thing. So it was a great journey, almost scale revenues more than 4x. The team has grown almost 2x. It's been fabulous in that sense. We'll talk more about it in SaaSLabs. For ZoomInfo, it was a very different experience. The reason being is at that time, I just moved to US from a sales career in India, in Cisco and IBM. And I finished my MBA. So I was kind of like an intern figuring out, and I got into product and growth kind of roles, right? And this is not the ZoomInfo that you guys see right now. So that's also a very important thing, right? You see a very small baby, but now it's like an adult. So that's kind of the journey. ZoomInfo was at 10 million. They stopped growing for 2 years. right? So that's a lot of context to like when I joined ZoomInfo, right? So, and then we were like, I joined a great product team, and we were like, okay, let's experiment with it. Let's keep building different things. In a gist, we built a lot of products for the lot of different personas other than sales. And that kind of like, added a lot of step functions. And I was there from the ZoomInfo journey from 10 to close to 60 or 60 plus million. That was kind of the journey there. Yeah, I'll take a pause here, Satya. I think I've answered your questions.
Yeah. No, I mean, context is great so that all of us know, how your journey evolved. Probably, if you can just throw some quick light, 1-2 experiments that you did at ZoomInfo that you're super happy about or not so happy about, or at SaaSLabs, and that could give some context around those experiments as well.
Absolutely. I think let me start with ZoomInfo, because ZoomInfo is like, see, it's like when you have a nice window of 6 to 7 years after you've left the company, and what all you did, you can see the impact of those also. Right. So, and that's why it's a great context to talk about that. See, at ZoomInfo, right, at that point, and I think, you already had like, one aspect that, you keep asking me when you were talking is, what is my superpower, right? And that's something which I believe, like at that point when I joined ZoomInfo, my superpower was I can talk to anybody, I can talk to any customer, any prospect, and really get down to that insights, right? I'm talking about qualitative, right? So I really leveraged on that, because a lot of my product managers were all very techies. I was like, no, I'm going to talk to all my customers and just learn from them. And at that point, we were figuring out what to build, a lot of different things. So we were like, okay, should I build this feature? Should I build that? Should I build that? Right. And I think at that point, even product-driven growth was like a very, very early term, right? I don't think we used PLG at that point. I think so. But, we were doing that. We never used the acronym PLG. So the idea was, okay, how do I get a largest part of my customer to come try us out? So we had some variant of freemium. We kept improving on that. The reason is there's a lot of spam when you say, I'm going to give you 10 free contacts. It's going to be like tons of spam coming in, right? So people came in, but then we used that as a flywheel to say, okay, when people come in, can we get something from them instead of money, right? And so what happened is the listing of a lot of data, like company and contact data, gave us a lot of mileage in the SEO. We'll talk about that a little bit later, and I have some points for you guys. When the audience comes in, and it's okay to have that spam problem, but then we started asking people, say, okay, we'll give you even more free contacts if you open up your inbox to us. We want to read your emails. We want to read the contacts, right? Just the contacts. So all that tech got fine-tuned, and which we created a flywheel in terms of like knowing like, okay, we're going to get a lot of data. We're going to get a lot of customers coming in. And can we convert them using our enterprise sales? And very soon, right, I think like when we started talking to customers, we realized we had one product, but they were using our product in 10 different ways. And that's when I started talking to customers, we were like, okay, we need to build for the marketing persona. We need to build for the demand gen. It's a very different use case. And that's one point I want to really drive home also, like, for the team, a product can be viewed from 10 different directions. Right? And so you have to be open to that. And I'll tell you why this is important. Because when we started looking at that 10 different directions, we said we have to build this product in 10 different ways. Like a data product is not just one way. We built 3-4. We missed the buzz on a couple. And that's why, Satya, the 7 years give me a time frame to tell you, like Clearbit is one which has become big because of we didn't do enough in the tech API space. We didn't build a Gmail plugin, so Lucia took that space. So these are all opportunities. Now I can solidify and say, oh, okay, we missed the bus there. We definitely missed the bus on those two. But we got like really over, I would say like under indexed on a couple other areas. So I think, stitching back, we got the product model right. We got like, the credits model, adoption of early customers. We really, I personally spent a lot of time talking to customers and figuring out, okay, how really they want it, how to make it sticky. And one other point actually is also, it's okay to not get obsessed about like, people spending time every day in the product. At ZoomInfo, people used to come once a month and go once a quarter and go. It's okay. It's totally okay. So and that's something which we had to unlearn. we were really trying to get them to come every day. Then we realized, okay, it's okay. It's totally okay. Like, you can be in your Salesforce CRM every day, but you can just come once a month. So these are small things there. And we made a lot of mistakes. I'll tell you that.
Awesome. And I think it's an evolution, right? I think all of us look back and say, okay, we could have done this better, done that better. Probably, I think it's time to kickstart the workshop. Probably I'll just give a few icebreaker questions to you before we do that. Tell us what would you be doing if you were not a part of the GTM function?
That's a very interesting thing. I think, I still nurture that ambition. I want to be a writer, like a screenwriter, maybe that.
Okay, all right.
That's a topic for another day.
For sure. And one word to describe you, what would that be?
I think, most, it's got to be either positive energy or curiosity.
Okay, curiosity. Okay. What is the funniest excuse you have heard from your team for not hitting sales quota?
Okay, so there are a lot of usual things, which I think, sales is very easy for sales to find reasons. They'll keep giving you, first they'll say product is not good. If the product is good, then say pricing is too high. And they'll say, and then finally, some funny things will be like, we don't have the right leads. Like we don't have people who are willing to buy right now. And I'll be like, dude, that's your job. Like you have to go figure it out. If everybody is willing to buy at this stage, then I don't need a sales team, right? It's just like inbound. But I think, some of the real tragically funny was when I was in Cisco at sales, I was part of the team also. 2008 hit us. And at that time, more from the sales team, the customers used to give us funny reasons, right? They'll be like, hey, I really wanted to buy, man, but, I just want to wait and see how this pans out for the next 6 months. So there's a lot of very contextual driven things. And I think it comes back into belief and trust. If you have a very, very, and I know what a great sales team can be. That's what I've seen in ZoomInfo. But yeah, it's a lot of funny things there.
Got it. Well, let's get started, Guru. Thanks for setting context and good to have you on the call.
Thanks, Satya. I want to personally acknowledge that because you made me think like a 0 to 1, 0 to 5 million journey. And I think, I've nailed a little bit pieces there. So let's without any delay, let's start. I really like this slide. The reason I have this slide here is for startups, right? Just like the PTPL code, that under-index, over-index framework. This is another one I really like. This is like, imagine you're driving a car in a dark road, right? You have only your headlights on. You have nothing else to guide you. You have maybe a map saying like, okay, you're headed in the right direction. I call it the headlight strategy. Right? We're all there. We're all right now in it. You only get to see 10 feet in front of you and you have to make quick decisions. So what does that mean? 10 feet in front of you. It means like limited visibility, not enough information, but you have to make quick decisions. And that's the nature of this journey, right? So let's just embrace that, right? It's okay. It's totally okay. Limited visibility, quick decisions. You have to have fast feedback loops. You have to do something, learn, iterate, repeat it. But the best thing is, I want you all to remember is, even with that limited visibility and a 10 feet with a headlight, you can actually make a 1,000-mile journey. So that's the important piece here. So I want to set that context, and and this is something which I use to guide my decisions. I'm like, okay, let's not worry about everything. I just think about what is in front of me and fix it, right? With a little bit of a compass to guide me. That's it. So that's my headlight strategy. I want to set that. Now, the other thing that which is really stuck with me. See, if you notice, I'm sure you guys must be checking out my LinkedIn profile to see what I've done. I've been a techie, moved to sales, and then been a couple of 0 to 1 journeys in my own startup journeys, and then worked in ZoomInfo and SaaSLabs. So I've had different roles in different departments, right? And I kind of over time, I've realized that you have to keep thinking about how to build a moat, right? A defensible advantage in any of these functions. And what happens in a lot of these startups, even when you are very small, you have different departments, and the whole customer obsession goes for a toss. We just kind of sub-optimize each, right? So I think over time, I've just condensed this philosophy into thinking like, okay, how do I deliver a single experience? And the moat building can happen only if I build superior prospect and customer journeys. So I look at it from a point of how will the customer see this journey? What all they have to go? And it's very simple for me in my mind is it's a journey for them between 2 points. Point A is a place where they don't know you exist at all. Like they don't know you exist. That's point A, right? And point B is a place where they become an evangelist. So that's the journey that you have to be very obsessed, like maniacally obsessed about, and think, okay, what am I doing extra in that moat piece? Because today with there's a I kind of believe like in B2B today, and you all founders must almost agree with that. Today, B2B space is like entering the cereal aisle in a supermarket. There are 100 boxes in front of you. You don't know what's written on them. The customer doesn't care. It's like, 50% more strength, 50% more, whatever is written. People don't care. People just, either you just pick 3 boxes and that's your short list, or somebody has told you something. And so the goal is to like, how do you compete in that? How do you, with so much parity across marketing, product, sales pitches, how do you build a moat? So I want you guys to start thinking about that. And that's kind of what I'm going to be driving home today as a point is, can we think about building moat? And even in that very early stage, it's very vital to think about. So with that, let me start this. So I'm going to be talking about 5 areas today. I want to keep it lean and simple. Top 5 focus areas. Basically, it's kind of like a template where I want you to go to your next meeting and start executing. That's kind of the brief Satya gave me. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. 5 focus areas we're going to be talking about. The first one is like, why we exist, value creation, and then prospect customer journeys, a little bit focus on teams and data, right? That's kind of how I'm structured this presentation. Let's jump to the first one. So this is a very, very, very important piece. And I'm sure all the people here in the 0 to 1 journey are thinking about it, right? Why we exist, right? And I'm going to make it even more blunt. Value comes only from fixing pain, right? You have a solution to an inconvenience and that fixing pain. And I think it's an exercise for all the teams and all founders, especially like to say, okay, can we define the pain for your customer clearly? Why is this very important, right? Because it's very easy to assume what this pain is. It's very easy to just be like, have a vague definition. So that I want to mitigate even at the start, right? And the best way to do it is to ask customers to quantify it, like quantify value and pain. And that's the great path to get from MVP to PM. So here I want to give a little bit of a personal example also, because I want to pepper it with personal experiences. So when I was doing one of my startups, it's called Comic Flix. Basic brief is we're trying to make graphic novels from movies and TV series in an automated fashion, right? That's kind of the brief. So we were going around talking to everybody in India, every industry, content industry in Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Chennai, and trying to figure out like what to do, how is the model evolving, where is the money, all that, right? And that's what I'm sure you guys must be doing it same. But when you start talking to customers, you will always meet that 1-2 customers who's going to give you so much clarity because they have more domain expertise. They're in the field, they're thinking about it. And I met somebody from Eros Studios, and he listened to me for just 5 minutes. And then he said, Guru, let me summarize your business for you. I'm like, okay. And he gave me 3 options. This is the 3 things you can do. And I had my notes. I was checking my notes. This is the learning I had after 6 months. And he just had it in 5 minutes, right? And that's the domain experience. Like when customers tell you, like, where is the money? And that quantifying value and pain is very important for you to get a handle of what are you doing? What is your product solve? So that's something which I really believe should be ground zero. Because if you don't get this right, every other step that you build on it is going to have not have a strong foundation. I totally believe in this, right? And getting customers and I have a template also for you guys to start working is like, think about this. Okay, why we exist? have like, even if you have 5 customers, and this can also be prospects, not just customers, get them to say, okay, and you map them by ICP, persona, whatever, so that you'd understand it. And then you ask questions. Okay, what would you do if he just ceased to exist? Tell me quantify the value, because you're getting a sense of how important this product is for your customer. Is it a nice to have? It's a must have? What else can they be doing? And that is where you are able to get your value. And it's not a very fluffy exercise. I'll come to you to the next slide why this is important. Once you get this right, naturally you'll have an understanding of your ICP native workflow, like how they behave from day to day, where they learn, how they find new tools, everything starts coming. This ICP native workflow used to be my cubicle used to be decked with all this at ZoomInfo. We used to have like the entire journey of a customer, how they would start, where they would find something similar, where they would like anything, because everything is an opportunity for us, right? And it also added benefit is it starts giving you a little bit empathy about the customer as well, like knowing, okay, this is what it is. Now, if you're able to do this exercise, and one thing I want to stress on here is, it is not what you think the customer said. It is exactly what the customer said, verbatim. That's important, because that will help you later on in keywords, in exact terms, in content, copy, everything. It's going to have like so many effects, right? So verbatim is important. And this MVP to PMF, right? So when you have 5 customers, you have an MVP, right? PMF is that 1 million, or even sometimes it's 5 million journey. The thing that I want to stress on is like, it's okay to have a lot of things that doesn't work. Some things will work, some things will not work. It's okay. It's a learning moment. You will learn. The faster you learn, the faster you out execute. That's where that's the essence. Not just like, finding things that only works. You'll have both. It's okay. And that journey, have an experimentation mindset, right? Now, wrapping up the first point, when you do this exercise, you get immense clarity. And this clarity is going to distill down into your sales pitch, your website headlines, your email copy, subject, strong and clear positioning, right? Because if you talk to 100 prospects, a lot of prospects, they'll come and tell you, hey, I'm not clear about what your solution does. I'm not sure even you're fixing my problem. So that's why this exercise helps, because it'll help your prospects understand your offering better. And it'll also give you a better understanding of your larger ICP and then sub-segments within your ICP. Remember, your ICP is not like one monolithic entity. It is a lot of small sub-segments, like where the needs will differ like 1-2%. I want to also, so I'm peppering it with a lot of personal experiences. So the SaaSLabs, I'll give you a personal experience here. So when I joined SaaSLabs, and a lot of my friends from Cisco were like, okay, this is just a calling solution, Guru. When we've been doing this for 20 years, dialers and calling, what is different? So I had my hunch, but I said, okay, let me validate it and get back to you. So started talking to a lot of customers. I asked customers upfront. There are a lot of tools that you can use. You could have used like, AirCall. You could have used TalkDesk. Why did you choose Just Call? And this is an actual paying customer to me, but I wanted to know from their words. And they started laughing. They're like, Guru, I've evaluated everybody. I'm like, great. What else to know? Tell me what exactly is the reason you bought Just Call. And these are things that gets lost, in the sales process and everything sometimes. So you have to be very, very, very maniacally obsessed about understanding that. And my customers started telling me about some very niche, like native integration capabilities that will create problems for him downstream, right? So these are small things that you pick up, and it goes into this box here. And then that gets distilled down into your product positioning, websites, copies, sales pitch. That is the flywheel. You will create within your own small, even if it is 5 customers, even if it is 5,000 customers, this exercise is so important. So I want to really stress upon that point, because it's why we exist question. Knowing from the customers that pain and the value and the clarity helps a lot for you to stand out better for your prospects also. So it's like a flywheel. It's very important, right? And this is the foundation, ground zero. So this, I can't stress this enough. Of course, we'll talk about it in the Q&A if you have more questions or so, but feel free to share it with Satya. With that, I'm going to jump into the second piece, right? This is probably the most exciting piece for all of you guys is, okay, prospect journeys. Great. How do we get more prospects? That should be the question everybody's having in your mind. Right? I want to go a little bit more into base levels, right? There are only two things you need from prospects. One is attention, one is time. And attention is very, very hard, right? It's very scarce. People are paying a lot of top buck for that. So I want to I thought about this problem a little differently for this, at least for this presentation. And I wanted to think about a framework saying, okay, if you want to get attention, you have to maximize your surface area, right? Now, what does that mean? It means I want your customers to find you not just in one place, in different places. Because an average B2B buyer, even 5 years back, had to have 8 to 10 touch points. Now it must have gone up by 2x, right? So this different touch points is why I'm saying you have to maximize your surface area. And this doesn't need a lot of budget. Sometimes, if you have money, you can spend on different things, but I'm talking about from a point of a 0 to 1 million journey is let's start thinking about what we can do on a regular basis today, right? We can start with very simple things, like let's say outbound. I kind of mandate all the startups I work with, say, okay, the CEO founders should own the process, have a small account list, 50, 100, 1,000, whatever that list is. These are accounts you really need. Map out 2 to 3 people per account list, per account. Have that ready and think about what is the best way to reach them. Is it emails? Is it LinkedIn? Is it calls? Anything. One thing will work, one thing will not work. And this is not a mass activity. Understand this. This is a time when you have to do things that don't scale. Don't think about scale right now. Think about how do I maximize my touch points? And this exercise, if you're making a very contextual, very personalized email or LinkedIn or call, you will get a good response rate. I've seen even 5 to 20% response rates, even more. But this is not a scale activity. This is about targeting your key prospects and do it. So it's just one outbound activity. There is a lot of outbound activities here. And you have to keep building these pillars one by one, right? And it's a very important thing. And the framework to have in this step is, how do I maximize my touch points? How do I maximize my surface area, right? Because you need attention. And this goes back into that point A. You can be doing wonderful things, but if your customer don't know you exist, it's all moot, right? It's all moot point, right? Nothing matters if your customer should know you exist, and the right customer. And that's why that previous exercise would have helped to give you clarity to know that will feed into this account list. There are some activities in inbound. SEO is a very important activity to do. Its efficacy is long-term, but never too early to start. And in the long term, this is one of the activity which will definitely give you an unfair advantage. You're seeing it in action in every company. So, but I would say don't wait till you get bigger. I've worked with some companies where they're like, okay, we will wait for SEO a little longer because it's a long-term activity. No, start putting the seeds today. Let the fruits come tomorrow. Start putting the seeds. It's very important to not delay that process. Content. As far as content is concerned, right? A lot of companies get into the trap of just publishing tons of content. We need to publish 5 every week, 3 every week, 2 videos. Those only matter as long as they're good content, right? When I mean good, right? It has to be at least 20% better than the other relevant content in the space, in whatever space you operate. Even if you have only bandwidth to put one good detailed piece a week, great. Nothing matters more than that, right? Because that will make you stand out instead of just populating with a lot of filler content. It doesn't matter. You just have to stand out. And because the thing is, remember always in all these exercises, I want you to really imagine yourself in a cereal aisle in a supermarket. What happens? Think like that. And I'll give you a funny example. So we were, for SaaSLabs, we were actually going to one of our conferences to CCW, which is in Vegas. I like these kind of activities. So what I do is I started asking customers, hey, there are 100 companies here. You've gone to every company's booth. They're like, yes. Tell me 2 companies you remember. And you know what the answers were? The customers were like, AI, some dashboards. Nobody remembers company names, because in those 2 days, they were just inundated with so much information. And that is what is going to happen everywhere on the internet, on content, on your inbox. So you need even a sliver of differentiation in this. It's great. You have to stamp your authority. And that's when you start existing. Forget about becoming a customer. First, you exist, right? That's very important. And then you get the attention, you get the mind space. They're going to be thinking about you. And then when they walk into the serial aisle, you're on the short list. Remember, this whole things I have in this slide and the next slide is for you to get on the short list. That's it. Prospect journeys is always to get on the short list. Is to be on the top of the funnel and say, okay, I am in the short list. Now, there are other things here, and there's a lot of things here. I just had just talking points. We will start spending more time, and you'll hear more. But communities are very important because your micro segments lives here. All micro segments have their own communities, so you have to identify them. You have to be visible. Social, right? I genuinely feel for B2B today, the biggest white space is like LinkedIn comments. It's not a scalable activity, but if you have one person spending some time, you can find the right conversation. Somebody's posted, all the comments there are the gold mine. You can start reaching out to those people or commenting there, and you can engage. I've seen a lot of data companies follow this strategy. This is a very, very important things to get that initial 5-10 customers, right? Remember, even if you have 100 customers today, any activity which gives you 5 customers is like 5%. That's humongous. So these are all you should think from a radar of, okay, how do I maximize my surface area? Moving on, there are some other aspects. I genuinely believe partnership is great from B2B standpoint, but the flavors are different for each companies, right? It can be tech driven, it can be agency driven, it can be implementation partner. The key here is to think about what is the synergy for me? Do I find any synergies, and how to double down there? And it is not too early. Even if you have 10 customers, having one call with one company to figure out it will work, it's not too much of a strain, right? So there are some activities which you don't have to wait, right? Marketplaces, I think you guys must be already on top of it. Like, there are lots of marketplaces, not just like, like HubSpot or Zoho. That's one kind, right? That's apps on the marketplace of that Salesforce ecosystem. There are other things. Like, for example, a lot of, I've seen a lot of B2B SaaS buyers now buy tools collectively at a discounted price, right? So there are a lot of listings for that. People who say, okay, I'm going to get a good deal from everybody and bundle it, because they're also doing FMS for the companies. So these opportunities keep opening up. So you have to keep your ears very close to the ground and watch and try. And physical events, I think, Satya already talked about SaaS, but I genuinely believe you have to pick one, or if you have bandwidth, 2. You don't have to be a sponsor. Attending is more than enough. The reason why I really, really, really stress on this for your target industry is it is going to take hell lot of time more for you to get face time with tens or hundreds of your target prospects. So you're jump starting that, but you have to work the field that day. Like, just run on coffee, talk to 100 people. It's going to be amazing. Intros, I know a lot of founders feel shy to go back to, and Satya, sorry if a lot of founders bombard you with emails after this, but you have to go back to angel investors, VCs, anybody ask. Don't shy from asking for intros. It's very warm, it's very powerful, and you will jumpstart this whole thing. So this list can be endless, guys. We can talk for 5 hours on all these journeys, but I've just tried to capture a little bit of an essence for you, and then we can chat more. And hopefully this slide will answer the question that's running in everybody's mind: is, okay, Guru, great, yeah, I've a lot of things to do. Should I be doing everything, right? How do I find the balance? I don't have bandwidth. I need to hire 10 more people. No. So it's very important question to ask, and it's a very, very natural question. I think what I've done in this stage is like, think of that headlight strategy, right? You have only 10 feet visibility. What do you do, right? So what you have to do is first you keep doubling down on what's working. That's number one. Until the predictability drops, right? That's when you know it's hit a upper circuit. Let's say like, you have any channel. Let's say like, you have email, like you have a sequence email. It goes out to some people, you get 5% response and, or 1%, 2%, and then you convert some customers. It's working. If you double down, maybe it will work. One more time, maybe it won't work, right? So that's when you hit a ceiling. You have to think of different things. Bandwidth is a challenge, total challenge in startups, early days. So you have to demarcate some channels, say, okay, this is working. These are channels which I think has a potential to give like more than 5% of my current monthly new customers. That I should give it more time. I should nurture it, should put some water. There are some channels I've given it time, 2 months or, and that's the call, which should be very different for each of these companies. Sit down with all of you, it'll be different. You have to be ruthless to cut out some, but also have that balance, right? Because, it's very vital for you to keep trying. I've seen a lot of startups here. The problem is, they stick to only what's working. They don't try anything new. That's wrong. And the even worst thing is trying out everything and stopping after 1 month. That's even bad, right? And that's like, you're stretching yourself too thin. At this stage, focus and just some bandwidth for experimentation is the correct balance. And it will change for every startup, every industry. But I think that's kind of like, the message I want to leave you here is maximize your surface area because you want more touch points, because you want more attention. Once you get attention only, can you think about the next thing, which is time. Sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, this title has to be minimized time, but it's fine. Just ignore that. So you need more time. Okay. Now, why do you need time? And I want to like be very clear here. See, you have a funnel, you have 10, 100, 1,000, million, doesn't matter. Whatever that's in the top, that's coming. In that group, you want the highest number to precisely know what you're offering, right? That's why the positioning, the clarity, everything should be clear. And then you want them to use the product for the desired outcome, right? That's the intended path. You will learn, but that's what you're thinking. And then they will make an informed decision to stay or leave. For these three, you want them to have that time. With prospect should have the time to think about these three things, right? That's your goal. That's the goal. So you want them to know what exactly you're offering, clarity, precise nature, and then use the product for the outcome. You've empowered them, you've given them some context, and then they stay or leave. So in this, what I've seen a lot of startups is create artificial bottlenecks. What I mean by that is like, I've listed down some things here. Just remove friction. This area is all about remove friction. If you want time, remove friction. Don't give them a reason, one more extra reason to bail out, right? Today, depending on your ICP, if your ICP is in the go-to-market side, they'll be tilted more towards talking to somebody, maybe preferring a demo, maybe preferring a demo after the PLG route, whatever, right? If it's a tech buyer, because some of the portfolio companies are tech buyers, you don't worry about all these marketing messages, the GTM. That's all. You have to really get them into the weeds quickly. So your whole pitch, everything has to be very different, and remove friction. And this is very, very vital because gating content, having 3 steps to sign up, 3 steps to demo, all that is passé, right? Every extra step reduces 50% of the audience there. Right? This is it'll just keep reducing. So, and you should be maniacal about this. Look, like in the website, I've seen even like good growing companies have broken links up to speed. You tried some campaign, it didn't work. You have that page there. People come, click, lost traffic, total lost traffic, right? Ungate content. Now have today, the world has moved so much that you have interactive product demos without even nobody talking to them. Do it. Remove friction. It's okay. Let them come. The reason why you have to do it at this stage is Your focus should be on getting the largest percentage of people to try everything and make a decision. Not for you to get them and then you have to talk to them to approve them. All that creates unnecessary bottleneck on your side. Remember, you were talking about resource bandwidth issues in the previous slides, right? So it will come here too. So remove all that. And the goal here is, okay, I have an idea about my ICP. I want all my different relevant ICPs to come try the product. It's not a good fit, they leave. It's okay. But we will learn. We'll always track them. We will learn about them, what they're doing, what clicks. But we won't keep getting it, creating artificial bottlenecks. This is very important. And as a founder, I will challenge all of your founders, all of the go-to-market leaders here to keep going to your website. Think from the point of view of a customer, try every step, wait for the email, click on the sign up email, see what happens, see how many clicks, how many steps that happens. It's very important. Removing friction is very, 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 very important because you've spent a lot of bandwidth getting the prospect at the top of the funnel. You want them to come to the bottom without any friction. So in prospect journeys, that's the message I want to leave you folks with is maximize surface area, minimize friction, because you need two things. You need attention and you need time, right? That's the second section of prospect journeys. Moving on, customer journeys. See, customer journeys, as far as customer journeys come, right? It's a lot of startups actually don't spend enough time here. I'll tell you what, even in the early days, some people think, okay, I have my 5 customers and I'm getting payment. It's what I mean by you don't spend time is people tend to get reactive. People think okay, I need to spend more time on my prospects. It's very understandable because your VCs are chasing you. You have to grow your revenue. Growing prospects is what you would be focused on in the 0 to 1 million journey. Understandable. But the customer journey, what happens is we slowly get into a reactive mode. Anything the customer wants, we'll do. Great. But not until they ask you. So it becomes a little bit reactive. And I want to really stress that point here is, I want you to convert every customer. Even if you have one, there should be an ambassador. What do you do? So I have some quotes here, which I really liked. And it's very simple, right? To convert a customer to your mission, they just must feel 3 things. They must feel like they're represented in your product, must be heard, seen. That's it. It's very basic things. They should feel like you're solving the problem you have. That's it. So I want to talk about a personal example here. Even though it was not customer for me, one of my 0 to 1 million journeys, Amplis, we decided to build a community even before the first line of code was written. So we started saying, okay, we put an idea about this is what the problem we think is. We're going to solve this early access. People started signing up. We started talking to them. We started talking to 5 at a time in a webinar. And you won't believe in this journey. We started showing them the first mock-ups. We got feedback. And then we built the next one where we showed them a little bit working prototype. People started giving feedback. They become so passionate about you. The reason is because they feel okay, their inputs are being considered. They're helping shape the product also. This community comes only when they feel that. And community is a little far-fetched from maybe the point of even if you have 5 customers, they need to feel hey, these guys are really solving what I have. That's important. They need to feel that. And that means you have to devote time. So in this step, what I've done is I've outlined a little bit of what would be a sample process. You can build on it. You can take it. You can, refine it a little bit better. Remember this, at every customer touch point, you need to wow them. And that superior CX is when they'll feel they're a part of your family. And then they're going to give you the most important currency, which is loyalty, right? And this is what that point A to point B journey, when you start doing this, customers are on this side of the journey and they become evangelists. Without them knowing, they become evangelists. They'll defend you in public. The best company to follow for this is think about Gong, right? A lot of LinkedIn comments, people start asking, hey, which is the best tool? You'll have 5 people defending Gong in these conversations. right? And it's a very, very powerful thing. You know, people will start defending. People say, no, this is great, that's great. They start telling the features of the product. And I'm sure a lot of founders may be thinking, hey, that's a little bit later exercise, Guru, because I only have 20 customers. No, it's easy to do it now. 20 customers, spend a little bit time to be proactive, and that will pay you rich dividends. So I thought about like, what would be the step-by-step action, right? Step one, map out the entire customer journey in detail, right? From the point of when they first point of contact, which can be website or which can be your email, or outbound, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Map that journey, right? And do this more from a customer point of view. Don't think about you. Like, put yourself in your shoes and see like what happens next. What happens next? Even better, which I used to do at ZoomInfo, was like get a customer, share the screen, and ask him to do all the processes, and ask him to say, okay, tell me what you're thinking before you're doing. And they will start clicking and say, I think this should be doing this, this should be doing that. More blind testing is great in this journey, right? Map out every point. You will know. This will also solve like that friction point also. Second, how are you helping your target ICP understand your product? This is the blind testing, right? When you would have built a product and your marketing engine in a way which you think customers will go. People rarely do it. Customers rarely buy what we sell, right? So what happens is like, they will start going in their own direction, and you have to see, okay, how do I educate them in this journey? And how do I make sure they use the product correctly? Or I should change it. I should empathize with them. I should educate, right? That's the steps. Then you ask yourself a more fundamental question. Are you really delivering a seamless experience from sign up to support, right? Now, this is very, very, very important. The reason is you have to have continuous evaluation. You need to have ways to track if this is happening properly, because onboarding and support is where a lot of companies drop the ball, right? They drop it because and if there is one ball you should never drop, onboarding is that ball. Never, ever drop that. The reason is it's when the customer is most likely to become an ambassador, most likely to give you loyalty, and most likely for you to also learn that you learn everything about in onboarding phase. You'll know like, okay, this is the value I thought he'll get. They're not getting it, or they're getting it amazingly well, and it'll become a great place. So this it has to be seamless. And you need to be equipped to track metrics at every stage. You need to be evaluating that. I'll talk about metrics in my next section, but that's important here. So the gather feedback from step 1, 2, 3 is very vital. You need, I think, all good CEOs and founders, they keep tracking the support inboxes. They keep checking every email, no inboxes discarded, no social channels, video call. All that feedback has to be synced up. Right. And this is where proactive starts. Even before they really come back to you with an issue, you start proactively reaching out, you start figuring out what is happening. And that's easy to do when you have 50 customers rather than 5,000 customers. It's very easy to do. So that is what it should build a DNA like that to know that, okay, this is my journey. Is it seamless? And what can I do there? Once you start doing this, what happens is the entire org starts learning the voice of the customer, gets better, and you start seeing a lot of improvements in each process, in sales, in marketing, in product, onboarding. And it should be regular practice to say thank you and sorry to customers. Sometimes a gift can be extended. Sometimes this will pave the way for constant communication, because you've taken, and this is how they feel heard. When somebody says something and you say, okay, we've heard this, we built this here. And a personal thank you to that customer who raised it. All that is more proactive in nature. And this will pave the way for real conversation. You can just pick the phone and say, okay, I want to show you something, talk. That's the level of comfort you need to have with your first 100 customers, right? And this will obviously step into, after onboarding, you can start reaching out to them 30 to 60 days later and say, give me a review. It can be a process. You can have G2 gives out gift cards. You can just build it. They will give the gift cards, build reviews, testimonials, start using that content of the customer itself. And this moves into the phase where you don't have to do anything. Customers will start referring and word of mouth will spread. right? But this is foundation. You have to keep watering the seeds and keep being proactive. That is when they become ambassador. It is not like a sticker you stick and say, okay, today we're going to be like different org. No, you have to do this. And only the byproduct of this will have that word of mouth. So map out that process. Obviously, like, you'll have these slides, you will, do it step, you can build your own process around it, but being proactive, having those real conversations, having very good ways to track onboarding and support, all that is very vital here. So last two sections, which is very vital. How do we measure progress? Data-driven visibility and culture is very important. I've seen a lot of companies, early days, even big companies. I worked with some big companies also. They keep pushing this initiative to later. They're like, okay, we are too small for it. Not very important right now. We don't have the bandwidth. I'm really sorry, but I think like this is a very important point that wherever I go for ZoomInfo and SaaSLabs, I built a data-driven framework. I've thought about like, what questions, what data points to collect, what will be important later, how will we make decisions based on that. And it's okay to have a lot of qualitative data, but have something. That's more important, right? So qualitative data is very valuable in sales and support calls, chats. You need to have a mix of tools and manual mining. For all the engineering and product data, it's okay to have some logs and some mining of data. It's okay for the 0 to 1 journey. But you need to have a good understanding of your funnel data, and for your support, basic data points are required to have. And weekly push for this particular data set is very vital from an org point of view to know like, okay, weekly I want this dashboard to come. Who's the owner? Make an owner in each department, get it, collate it, publish insights, publish it to relevant stakeholders. It elevates conversations. It puts things in your face, right? It's very important. I like to quote like, Mike Ali's quote here, like a very popular one, right? Mike Tyson, I think. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, right? That's kind of what it is, right? So everybody has a great plan, marketing plan, sales plan, support plan. Everything is great on slides. When you start going into the real world, you need to capture all this, keep pivoting. And this is important for you. And the last thing, nothing gets done without the right teams. And hiring is a big problem. And if you ask me at SaaSLabs, what is my biggest pain I solve? Hiring. Got a lot of directors, got a lot of senior people. It's very important. It's very tough. Now, I want to break down hiring into thinking like teams. Don't think about people, think about skills. Think about, okay, what are your ideal prospect and customer journeys you want to do for the next 2 to 4 quarters? Prepare a skills list. And then 20% or 15% of the founders, CEOs' time should be constantly talking to different people because you're creating a pipeline for talent. Just like how you would do for the prospect, this is a vital piece because any one good talent in the early days can have an outsized impact. Very important, right? So you define the traits, criteria early on so that this whole process is not dependent on the founders. It can also be like, your other leaders can take on the mantle, but define it and make it a continuous process. It's like, hygiene. You keep doing it, right? And this is like a sample thing. It could look like this, but it's just like a guidance framework. You can play around, you can think about it. I know we are a little short of time, but I think that's kind of I want to leave with this, right? So 5 focus areas. Why we exist is all about defining pain. Prospect journeys is all about maximizing surface area and minimizing friction, right? Customer journey is all about any small step that will make them an ambassador. They need to feel seen, heard. Great. Qualitative data is great. Have the visibility, have a weekly push, publish it. Important. Lastly, for the teams, skills. Go with skills. Go with like what will be the skills you would need in the last 2 to 4 months. Is it homegrown? Is it contract? Is it full-time? The choice is yours, but have that. That's a very important piece. And with that, I want to thank you guys for the opportunity and happy to take some questions.
I kind of leave it open, for folks here to shoot any questions. Also, what we are going to do is Guru is also going to be available to do one-on-one sessions over the next 3 months. for any of our portfolio founders. So we will also be sharing his Calendly link, and all Bold portfolio companies can do a one-on-one session. He's dedicating about 4 or 5 hours a week, every week. So that's something that you guys can also do beyond this session, and beyond any of the questions that we have. I know that we are short on time, but I just wanted to put it out there so that you could go ahead and also set up a one-on-one meeting with Guru as well. So the stage is yours. If you guys have any further questions, we can probably go for another 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes. But any questions around what Guru presented, frameworks, how we could use it, over to you guys.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much, Guru and Satya, for putting this together. It was super insightful. Yeah. So you touched upon hiring, right, in the end, like, because you presented a lot of things, like we are already doing some we could do, but we need more. We need to have a team to do some of these aspects, or at least pass on from founder to the team, right? So how do you, like, you mentioned about skills, like, which I understand, but can you give an example of like an ideal team to do some of these activities? Like, is it like say a marketing pod with, like, say 2-3 people doing certain tasks, or how do you kind of structure this?
It's actually a good question. A lot would depend on the stage. Like, for example, like, I was talking to a founder and he said, like, I have to get my first marketing hire. Like, who should I hire? Right. So I was telling him, like, what stage are you in? They're like, 0 customers. I'm like, okay, great. So let's talk about, and I always want that person to be multi-skilled, right? At that point. So the stage is very important. So for him, my advice, I said, have somebody who's good in understanding like 1 or 2 channels of demand gen, but also a little bit like, who has 4 or 5 years of experience, so who could think about, like, how to distill the product into a marketing essence, right? Because that isn't need for them to need to have a website, to have 1-2 demand channels cracking and going. It can be outbound, it can be this. And it also comes down to, like, what in your business is important, right? If you were a data-driven product, it'll be different. If you're a tech ICP-focused company, then you might be okay to hire a growth tech-driven marketer, because that might be more relevant. For him, he's more focused on a go-to-market kind of audience. So I said, okay, maybe a content writer. You can have them full-time if you have the bandwidth, or if you have like part-time, right? So the structure would depend on the stage. So I'm guessing, like, you're between, like, 0 to 1. So at that point, do you already have 1 person in your team, or how big is your marketing team? I'm just, like, getting context.
We have like a couple of folks, but from a skill standpoint, we do like all the bits and pieces of all this. Like, so there is no like proper structure.
So, I think that's why I put this thing, because, people start asking, okay, give me a marketing team structure. Then people will start giving, okay, 1 guy for demand gen, 1 for podcast. It is not sustainable in the 0 to 1 journey at all, right? So think like this. What are the activities like you would like to do for the prospect journey point of view, right? List down all the activities. Think about what are the skills you would need for that. Give a score, and then see if, like, maybe, like, 1 means, 1 to 10 is the total bandwidth of that skill, right? So you start adding up. If you have 1 person doing half of it, then 5 is enough, right? So, this could be a model that can emerge based on your needs. And if you feel you need some skill, but people on the team are only able to give half of it, that's when you need to hire somebody else. You need to bring in, and you can always start with a freelancer contracting. Now, the team structure that you're defining, it's a consequence of what activities you want to do and the skills. And so you need to have like some kind of a flag to say, okay, the bandwidth is only 100. If I give 50 to this, then, so that could be a great exercise. If you have 4 resources, your total bandwidth is 400. So you give 20 here to all the skills, and then you say, okay, this is not going to happen because, like, my total expectation of skills is like 600. So that will force you to make those decision to say, okay, should I reduce it to 400 or increase it to 600, hire more people? Did that? I'm sure, like, I want to get more context before answering this question. I'm just like, giving you a structure.
Yeah, we'll do one-on-one. Yeah, I think that's going to be useful. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. And as I said, we will be doing this twice a month with different experts. and look forward to adding more valuable content. And please do share feedback as well on the emails that we send out, so that we can get better in creating, bringing the right people on board, and also try solving for the different challenges. Thank you, and look forward to staying in touch with all of you again.